In other news, the ANC recently held a two-day local government summit in Potchefstroom to discuss how dysfunctional service delivery in the Northwest can be improved. The gathering discussed challenges and possible solutions to problems plaguing the municipalities in the province. This comes as the ANC lost its majority in 4 municipal councils in the last few years. Watching the story is SABC News reporter Thabiso, who joins us now live from Klerksdorp. The obvious question, Thabiso, is whether or not this gathering came up with any practical solutions to the long-standing problems there.
A big question, Ayanda, to the ANC. We'll pose that question to the ANC spokesperson here in the Northwest, Tumelo Maruping. And you'll remember that, as you've rightfully alluded in your introduction, that the ANC has lost its majority in some of the municipalities in this province, like your JB Max local municipality, Rustenburg local municipality, Ditsobotla, following the 2022 by-elections. The ANC lost its majority there, even in Lekwatemane, in Bloemhof, in the Northwest province. So that's the situation as far as the ANC's election performance has been, the ANC has been faring in the province over the past few years. But let me speak to the ANC spokesperson here in the province, Tumelo Maruping, just to give us a sense of some of the resolutions or their plans to turn around the situation at the municipalities following that two-day local government summit, which was convened by the ANC in the province. Thank you very much for joining us this morning on SABC. Just briefly, what are you going to do to turn around the situation at municipalities following the local government summit that you convened recently in Potchefstroom? What are those resolutions?
Look, we convened the local government summit to actually deal with the problems that we have long diagnosed. You'll remember sometime last year we held a successful assessment through all municipalities. So we know what are the problems. The reason why we convened that summit alongside the Lekgotla was to come and deal with the mechanism in terms of implementing the resolutions that we have long taken. And number one, in terms of the priorities, is fixing the issues of water infrastructure in the Northwest. You'll recall that we issued a statement through the Department of COGTA. This is an ANC-led government, by the way. We are not in a coalition. Now, part of our biggest problem in the Northwest is water. We have aged infrastructure, and the budget that is given in terms of the WISIG to district municipalities, it's for bulk projects. But the municipalities, our municipalities, because they are highly reliant on grants, are unable to maintain the infrastructure because local municipalities are responsible for reticulation and maintenance of this infrastructure. And local municipalities are not in a position to maintain this infrastructure, and therefore, as a result, we have an aged infrastructure, which then ended to a lot of water scarcity. So that is the priority number one in terms of the resolution of Lekgotla. But the second issue is to deal with maladministration in municipalities. You'll recall that in 2022, when we started with the Provincial Executive Committee's term, we identified about 13 municipalities which were highly dysfunctional in terms of the report of the then Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma at that time. And we managed to reduce that number to 3 municipalities to try, and of course, Ditsobotla, it's obviously one of the 3. And since then, we've been trying to stabilize municipalities. We've instituted Section 139 in some of those municipalities, such as your Kagisano Molopo and so on. Those municipalities are no longer under Section 139 because there's some relative stability in terms of the administration. We still have issues, of course, with regard to political instabilities as a result of some factions that are still persisting in the organization. And the second priority, the third priority, is organizational renewal, because it's part of the 6 priorities that President Cyril Ramaphosa outlined in the January 8 statement. Because a dysfunctional ANC tend to lead to a dysfunctional ANC-led government. So we have done that introspection in terms of the organization, and we are trying to build from within, but also cleans out those rotten potatoes within the African National Congress so that we can focus on delivering services to our people.
You speak about the political instability in some of the municipalities. is the ANC accepting that partly should be held accountable or is responsible for the dysfunctionality of some of the municipalities in the province? Because, I mean, you are governing all these municipalities, even though only 4 of them is through coalition government, but many of them are led by the ANC. So are you taking a responsibility about the situation, the dire state of some of the municipalities?
Look, in exception of Mamusa and Naledi, the municipalities that has a lot of political instability are the municipalities that are in coalition. It's your Rustenburg, it's your famous Ditsobotla, it's your Potchefstroom or your JB Max, as well as Lekwataiman. Those are the most municipalities that are giving us a headache. And this is because emanating from an agreement of intent in terms of the coalition as prescribed by the National Executive Committee, we are not finding one another. And in the last Lekgotla now, we have discussed this matter and we have resolved as the Provincial Executive Committee that we are going to engage national, that the arrangement of coalition with the political parties that we have been prescribed to, it's not working in terms of the dynamics of the Northwest. In Ditsobotla, for a typical example, you find a situation where the stability is brought by all political parties jointly or in unison, in a sense that comrades of Ditsobotla from all political parties or from different political parties are able to unite over wrong things. There was an instance where you had 2 speakers and 2 mayors just recently. But if you look at the line between those 2 factions or groupings, both members of the ANC were represented into the 2 factions or groupings, and both EFF and other parties were represented, meaning it's no longer a political party problem. It's a problem of councillors in that municipality who in unison unite over wrong things. So,
but Tumelo, this political instability has been there before the coalition governments that we see at some of the municipalities. I'll make you an example. I mean, even in Taung, there were at some point parallel councils there where the ANC is governing alone.
Look, in Taung, the issue in Taung was not actually the parallel. We never had 2 mayors, 2 speakers in Taung. The problem in Taung...
But okay, some ANC councillors colluded with opposition parties to remove the speaker.
I wanted to respond to that. I'm saying the problem in Taung was not as a result of ANC council. It was emanating from the administrative issues. Remember, at the time, they were fighting over the overtime payments and so on. And as a result, that divided the entire council, not ANC councillors. The entire council, because all of them were beneficiaries of that, or were supposed to be beneficiaries of that overtime payment. So that's what led to that discussion. But it was a councillor's matter, not an ANC councillor's matter.
I want us to go back briefly to the issue of water. You speak about the role of the district municipalities as far as water provision is concerned, that many of them or all of them are water authority service. So there is issue of water tankering in many municipalities. That is apparently costing municipalities a lot of money, and I believe that water tankering should be a temporary intervention while infrastructure is being repaired so that people can get water through the infrastructure that has been erected. But in some instances, you'll find that this water tankering continues for a very long time. Are you going to deal with that once and for all?
Look, there are a few issues that we have diagnosed in the commissions of the local government summit. Number one is that indeed there's a problem of municipal officials conniving with the contractors to destabilize the infrastructure of water so that they can resort to water tankering. We want to deal with that. We have said it before that we want to deal with that in terms of long-term solutions. Number two is that we have also diagnosed that there's a problem with our water boards. Your Machalis, your rainwater in Madibeng and so on. Machalis is operating mainly in the district of Dr. Ruth Mumpati because most of their projects are not getting completed. So those are the issues that we have diagnosed, and in most cases those are the issues that lead to tankering because there's nothing we can do if the infrastructure is disrupted. People need to get water. People need to drink water. So we end up getting into a corner to resort to this tankering. But in another, if you flip the coin, there are those municipalities or officials who are conniving with these people to continue with the water tankery. It's a headache for the ANC. It's a headache for the ANC-led government. It's a headache for municipalities, and we want to deal with that decisively.
Just in closing, do you have timelines in terms of implementing those priorities that you have alluded to? Do you have timelines? You are heading to the municipal elections next year.
Our resolutions is that we have given the ANC-led, the deployees, exactly 10 months to deal with all the issues or to implement all the resolutions that we have taken in that summit. And we have established a new team, a technical monitoring and evaluation team, which is going to meet on monthly basis. There was a political technical team, the political M&E team. We realized that they are not hands on deck because it becomes a referee and a player. So we have now appointed a technical team comprising of experts and people in government, in the administration, to monitor this implementation of these resolutions. And we're hoping that we'll be able to detect if there's failure or not within those meetings, those monthly meetings, and we'll have to intervene almost immediately.
Thank you very much. That's the ANC spokesperson here in the Northwest Province, Tumelo Marupin, talking about priority issues that have been agreed upon at the ANC Local Government Summit that was convened by the Provincial Executive Committee of the party in the province. ANC deployees in this province are given 10 months to ensure that those priority issues are attended to and they resolve challenges such as water provision and maladministration amongst the priority issues that were identified by the ANC at its Lekgotla that was convened in Potchefstroom. And with that, Ayanda, it's back to you in the studio.
All right, Thabiso Moss, we'll see whether anything changes on the back of those commitments. Thabiso Moss, live to us there from Klerksdorp. For now, thanks very much indeed.